2021 Mazda CX-30 Turbo. This is now Mazda's second best-selling vehicle, second only to the all-time best-selling CX-5, of course. Mazda's is dropping this 2.5-liter turbo and everything. Let's have some fun. Now the CX-30 has only been out since late 2019. It had a good 2020 despite the world shutting down. And here in 2021, the sales are surging. It is by far the second best selling vehicle for Mazda outside of the CX-5. And it is going to continue to increase in sales. Starting with the exterior design, no surprise here, the CX-30 by and large looks pretty darn good. And the only thing that I feel like takes away from the beauty of this vehicle is the copious amount of black plastic that we have on the bottom of the doors and around the wheel arches. But if that doesn't bother you, then the CX-30 probably looks drop dead gorgeous to you. The headlights and taillights look great in the CX-30. They don't look quite as good as the Mazda 3s, but they still look good. And in my opinion, they look better than the CX-5s. Now, of course, this is a newer vehicle than the CX-5. But compared to the CX-5, the CX-30 has way less interior space. Like, my knees are just brushed up against the back of the seats anytime in the back of this vehicle. It's good for kids. I've been taking my daughter to school in it, and she doesn't have any complaints. The seats do fold down. Strangely, you don't have as much cargo space as you do in the Mazda 3 hatchback, and you have nowhere near the cargo space as you have in the CX-5. But just like the Mazda 3 on the interior, it's very minimalistic. It's very aesthetically pleasing. On this top of the line, we have brown accents, and luckily, unlike the CX-5 and the CX-9, which use a ton of those brown accents, even on the seats, this is taking a more conservative approach, and the seats are mostly black, so I appreciate that. The issues I have is still with the rotary dial. I'm unable to quickly change my radio stations with the rotary dial. There's no tuning knob in here. Yes, I can set them as my favorites, but I have to get out of Android Auto just to change the radio stations. Like, this is just unacceptable to be able to have such a beautiful, aesthetically pleasing car, but the functionality with the infotainment is horrendous. And no, there's no touchscreen in here. The screen looks great, high definition. Now I can't even change my favorite presets with the forward and backwards buttons on the steering wheel. And oftentimes I accidentally hit the source button as I'm trying to use those buttons, which don't really do anything. They rewind like Sirius XM, and they also get you to live Sirius XM, but they don't get you to the next radio station, which is just stupid. So I'm a little fired up because I've been in so many Mazdas. They're great driving vehicles, which we'll get into. They look so great inside and out. The quality is there, the beauty's there, but the functionality is lacking. And if Mazda could fix it, hopefully within a couple of years, then these vehicles really don't have any glaring weaknesses. I think it's time to get into the performance of this vehicle. Stop sign right here. We're going to get onto the brakes hard. And speaking of hard, the brake pedal is extraordinarily firm. It's not a bad thing. The brakes are excellent, very progressive, very linear. It's just you really have to push this brake pedal down to get this vehicle to stop. Now this is the turbo model. There is a vehicle leaving right here. Please get out in front of me because we're going to put this 250 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque turbocharged 4-cylinder to the test here. Let's put it in sport mode, which I don't recommend driving in sport mode. It keeps the gears too much in the 6-speed automatic, so it revs too high. But anyways, floor it. There's 55. And it doesn't launch very hard unless you torque brake it. I discovered that with the Mazda 3 Turbo. And it's, to be honest, where you're gonna find this vehicle to be the most satisfactory with this turbocharged engine is when you're passing people when you're already up to speed. The transmission's very decisive. I'm going 37 right now. I'm just gonna hammer down like I'm passing someone, and it goes. And that torque, is there, that 300 plus pound-feet of torque, and you just rocket ship around vehicles when you want to pass them. 0 to 60 is around 6 seconds. It's going to be nearly as quick as the Mazda 3 Turbo. It's roughly the same weight. It's roughly the same vehicle, just lifted up. And in terms of visibility, the doors are really big. The windows are small. The windshield is fairly expansive, but you do feel like you're halfway submerged when you're driving the CX-30. As for the steering, you know, the steering wheel and the steering feel is actually very stiff. I like it. It's pretty engaging. It's got a good resistance to it. There's a lot more body roll in this than I had in the Mazda 3 Turbo sedan and hatchback. I'm just gonna fly into here real quick. Yeah, there's a good amount of body roll, and it's still very agile for a vehicle that's a crossover. And how this vehicle is equipped with a heads-up display, heated seats, heated steering wheel. We got the sunroof, all-wheel drive turbo model. I mean, this is top of the line for Mazda. It comes around the mid $30,000 price range, and that's getting close to the luxury range. Now, the Lexus UX is around the same price point as this, and that vehicle doesn't have the power as this vehicle, but it has the efficiency. I would say overall, though, the interior of this vehicle is better than that Lexus UX. The quality, the materials are a little bit better than the Lexus UX. The driving engagement is far better than Lexus UX. You have more cargo capacity compared to that vehicle. So it is definitely comparable to luxury models out there. But when you have to factor in Mazda's own lineup, that's where I feel like this Turbo CX-30 is kind of in an awkward space. The CX-5 Turbo is not that much more money than this, and it gives you way more space, especially in the backseat and for cargo capacity. And the Mazda 3 Turbo, whether it's sedan or the hatchback, are priced similar to this, maybe a little bit less, but they drive better. They have a lot more confidence in the turns. They also look better. So that's why I feel like this CX-30 Turbo is in a kind of an awkward place. But I admire that Mazda is not scared of dropping this 2.5 liter turbo into all of their vehicles at this point, besides the MX-5. And I know some people would like this engine, the Mazda MX-5 Miata, but it just doesn't fit with the weight and the non-rev happy nature of this engine. It's very torque based. It doesn't like to rev much past 5,000, 5,500 RPM. But I'm happy that Mazda just doesn't care. They're sticking this 2.5 liter turbo. It's a great engine, great 6-speed automatic transmission. They just put it in everything now, and that's what this vehicle is. They're like, okay, well, people like our engine and people like power, so we're just going to give it to them. And so I love that fact that Mazda's given us choice here. Despite that this vehicle is kind of in an awkward spot within its own lineup and it's knocking on the doors of the luxury segment, I believe it can hang in the luxury segment with how beautiful this interior is, how beautiful the exterior is. The technology is there. It's just not very usable with the rotary dial and the lack of a touchscreen and the lack of seeking buttons and a tuning knob. Anyways, I don't want to go back down that avenue of the infotainment, but I really like this Mazda CX-30. I would take a CX-5 Turbo over it. I would also take a Mazda 3 Turbo over it, given the price point. But I'm sure there's going to be a huge amount of people that buy this vehicle that are interested in the CX-30. That RAV4 is just too slow. We got to finish up the review somewhere else. And speaking of the ride qualities, I do this U-turn. It's stiff in here. It's not the most settled when you hit like sewer caps and things like that, and speed bumps and potholes. It's very, very stiff like the Mazda 3 is. But like I said, I'm happy Mazda has given the CX-30 its second best-selling vehicle, a turbo variant. Why not? Throw the turbo in everything, call it a day, and that's what Mazda has done with the CX-30. Can't wait to see you guys down below. It's kind of a quick review of the CX-30. It's just so similar to all the other Mazda products out there, and that's not a bad thing because Mazda has an incredible lineup, incredible designed interior and exterior vehicles, and only good things are coming for Mazda. Their sales are improving. They have their first electric vehicle here in the United States now, which is kind of a joke with 100 miles of range. But what I'm looking forward to the most for Mazda is rotary engine and inline six with rear wheel drive platforms. Man, I know you guys are excited for that. So make sure you're subscribed because you don't want to miss my coverage of Mazda, one of the more exciting Japanese automakers out there. Smash the like button if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out. That's a nice Kawasaki ZX14. You don't see a lot of ZX14s out there, and old people driving them, make sure to wear helmets, guys.